This is the second video on Igor's YouTube channel that will concern some spiritual, ghostly, extremely unique events that frequently occur in Igor's place of residence. The first video dealt with a clock that stopped working at the exact time of death of my grandfather back in 1973. After this video, if you're interested, you can go search and you'll find that video on the channel if your interest is piqued. Now, here's a little background info for context. This house was built back in 1915 by my great-grandfather George, and his picture you are about to be zoomed in on right now, okay? He, when he died in the 20s, was actually waked in the house, true Irish-style wake, okay? And I believe his blood was poured down the main drain line. Now, I'm not sure if this was done for convenience, possibly, from the embalmer, the mortician, or for any particular spiritual belief reason. Now, my grandmother was born in this same house, and I was fortunate enough to be able to be in the position to take care of her, live in here with her, and for about the last decade of her life, which meant that she did not have to go to a nursing home. She was able to stay in this house she was born in and loved, and her comfort zone, and it was basically almost all for just the last couple of weeks of her life, thankfully, okay? Now, many of my relatives, aunts, uncles, have stated, without doubt in their minds, that this house has, we'll say, quote-unquote, spirits. Now, I know that the house is blessed, and I've also stated a bunch of times that there's just a good protective bubble of loving energy around here. And nobody really should be nervous about it unless you have any untoward or, just some ulterior motives towards me or things, okay? Now, subsequent videos will go into some of these things, and most of the friends that I've had that have come over here for any amount of time will definitely agree with that. And they have a bunch of other stories, and for the subsequent videos, we'll go into those stories, okay? But this video today deals with the knob, the missing knob, or better said, misplaced knob off the kitchen range hood, okay? And that's what we're looking at right now, is these two, okay? Now, I had begun to do some home repairs and improvements, so I had taken the range hood down to repaint it. And with the fan mechanism as well. There's a fan mechanism on it as well. So one knob controls the light, one knob controls the fan. So anyway, I repainted it, put it back in, and I didn't replace the fan mechanism yet because I was in the process of doing other things and I wanted to replace the stove eventually. So I wasn't going to go through all that until I had to replace the stove, and you'll see there's some tile that still needs to be done around here, okay, right in front of the stove. So I wasn't going to go through all that. So what I did was I dummied the knobs up, just placed them up there, and just left them they're just going to stay up there. Okay. One time I had a friend who came over, and he was a frequent visitor. He would come a good 4, 5, 6 times a week, easy, okay? He lived right across the alley from me, so he was here just about as much as I was. So we were hanging out one night watching football or whatever game was on, and we were going to eat, and I was like, all right, we'll make some pizza puffs. And I like to make the pizza puffs in the oven because they're just superior if you put them in the oven or air fry them. And also, too, as anybody knows, I would bet my last bottom dollar that there's no fast food like pizza puffs that have burned the roots of more people's mouths, and especially in Chicago, because they take so long to get done and you're so eager to eat them, and they take quite a minute to cool off too. And you always end up thinking all right, it's ready, and you end up biting it and it hurts. So anyway, as I'm going to take the pan out of this cabinet right here, that same pan actually, to place pizza puffs in the oven, this knob right here falls off, okay? Now, I'm gonna put it back in here. And anyway, so that knob falls back off, and I get the pizza puffs, put them in the pan, put them in the oven. So I start looking for the knob. And I'm looking, and you can see in here, there's not a lot of room in here, okay? You can see, obviously, the tile needs to be redone, but it's there's not a lot of room in here. There's just not a lot of room in here, okay? So we're looking. The pizza puffs take about a good half hour or so to get done, and we still haven't found the knob. So I was like, all right, I'm ready to eat anyway. So we take out the things and eat, and, I kind of just forget about it for a minute. Done eating. All right, now I'm going to find this damn knob, okay? And we're looking. And now by this point, we've looked for about maybe 45 minutes or an hour, and we're starting to get aggravated. Where the hell did this thing go? Okay, where could it have gone? It couldn't have gone anywhere. The dogs didn't get to it, all right? What happened? So just, after maybe another 10 minutes or so, he's just like, all right, forget about it. We'll find it eventually. And the main reason I wanted to find it was just because this hood is old, and I figured it wasn't going to be the easiest thing in the world to find a replacement. And I wasn't necessarily worried about the dogs chewing on it and swallowing it to have to get to a situation where emergency surgery was necessary. Just that I didn't want to have to deal with finding a new knob, and if my aunt came over, one of the other relatives, they'd be like, oh, look at this thing all screwed and effed up. And so, all right. Anyway, now here's where the story gets good and juicy, so to speak. Okay, a good 5 weeks later, 6 weeks later, it was definitely more than a month. Same buddy was over. We were going to have guests for Pizza Puffs again, okay? So still have not found this knob, okay? Been looking, have not found it, okay? So I go, take the pan out of the thing as per usual, just like boom, boom. And I go to put the things in the oven, and this is where the knob is sitting. It's even hard for me to even place there, right there. Damn it. But this is where the knob is sitting right here, okay? Just like that. Now, as I'm pulling the door down on the oven, I was like, what the hell is this? Okay? And furthermore, I had a towel that was like this, usually on this knob, okay? So, now, as I'm pulling down the oven to put the thing in, I was just like, what the hell? And I see it, and my buddy, he's sitting at the kitchen table, and I say, look at this. And he turns pale as a ghost. And he's like, oh my God. Now, I have used the stove basically every day. I'm sort of anti-microwave. I always cook my food on the stove. I had used the oven a few times, okay? I hadn't cooked Pizza Puffs till that same day, but I had used the oven a few times before that, okay? Now, for this thing to be there, it is a physical impossibility. It's hard for me to just place it there, okay? Now you're telling me this thing fell out, and fell perfectly down and landed right there. And moreover, stayed there for over a month when I have a 200-pound plus Great Dane and another dog running around. I had that towel there for context because there was usually a towel there. And you might be able to say, okay, the towel kind of held it in place, but no, not with this big beast of a moose I got running around and dogs running around. And no, it's not happening, okay? Literally, you could not do this if you tried to get this to fall down and fall into that exact same spot it's just not going to happen. It is not going to happen. And then for it to sit there for a whole month, plus with the dogs running around, this and that, they get fed in the kitchen, so they go crazy whenever the food is brought out and they're fed and this. And no, it's just not going to happen, okay? Now, I don't know what you want to determine happened with this thing, if it just disappeared into another realm or, the little people kind of hid it, because my grandmother was always saying that she was having things hidden on her and then finding them in the weirdest spots. And if you go and do some research, a lot of people will say that that's the work of the little people, brownies, fairies, whatever the case may be. I don't know. I just think it's almost a little more plausible that the thing fell into another dimension, then fell perfectly down from the knob and fell into that broiler handle. That's just not going to happen. That's a physical impossibility. And then moreover, stay there for a month plus with the dogs I have running around. So, I don't know. I'd be very interested to hear your comments on this whole matter. For or against or whatever. But I'm very interested to hear anybody's comments. And you can watch out for some more videos of some interesting spiritual events that happened here. Thanks. Like, subscribe if you want, and have a good day.